You're listening to Big World Network.
Incubus, Season 5, Episode 7. Written and read by Amanda Meuwissen. How exactly am I supposed to get anything done like this? Jim joked as they moved to the bar. The chimera was currently curled halfway around his head. Be glad she likes you, Nathan teased, reaching up to pet her as they walked. She climbed over to Nathan, and her cat-like purr started all over again as she settled in his arms. Not hard to figure out who she likes best, Sasha added with a smirk. Nathan just smiled, holding the little creature close and stroking her back. I think she's definitely part cat, Sasha said. Maybe part tanuki, those Japanese squirrel things, and... Sasha peered over at her over Nathan's shoulder. Part koala? Alex offered with a snort, walking a little ways ahead of them as she grabbed a stool at the bar. Maybe, Sasha agreed. There's also a little more human in her than usual, since the spell went wrong. I think she might be able to understand us. Oh, she totally can, Nathan chimed in, taking the stool next to Alex. Figured that one on the first day. Good, Alex said, before turning to address the chimera in Nathan's arms. Then there'll be no more stealing food or stealing of any other kind. You are not allowed on or behind this bar or on top of any tables, and I don't even want to know how to toilet train you, she finished with a sigh. Nathan shrugged. Litter box? There was a small spattering of laughter at that, but then, suddenly, the chimera climbed down Nathan and started climbing up Alex instead. The gatehouse caretaker couldn't help but give in and hold the furry creature when it snuggled in her arms. See? Smart. She's apologizing. Nathan nodded. She knows who the boss is. Alex cooed at the chimera, unable to hide her fondness for the creature already. And hey, Nathan said, slapping the counter. She needs a name, huh? Nothing too girly or stupid, though. I know. How about we name her after the Flash? She's fast enough. While Jim and Alex blinked at him dumbly, Sasha came to stand more directly in front of Nathan and laughed as he crossed his arms. Which one? 'Cause there's no way we're calling her Barry, Wally, or Bart. Wally! He was always my favorite, and why not? Wally is a boy's name. So, Nathan countered, you have a girl's name. The smile on Sasha's face immediately fell into a petulant pout. It's not a girl's name. Sasha is Russian for Alexander. A boy's name? Dude, why do you think Jim and I thought we were meeting up with a girl when we first met you? Totally used more as a girl's name. Is not. So is. Is not. Hey, Jim broke in, since he knew firsthand how juvenile these kinds of arguments could become. Seriously, guys, come on. And anyway, he said, shrugging, I kind of like Wally. It took a moment for Nathan to realize that Jim was agreeing with him. He beamed at his brother before turning to Alex. Al? Alex glanced at Sasha and then at the chimera, currently sitting on her shoulder. Wally is kind of cute, she admitted. Nathan grinned triumphantly at Sasha. You gotta give in, man. Majority rules. Unable to keep from smiling as well, Sasha walked over to Alex, and the chimera immediately jumped over to his shoulder instead. What do you say, Wally? He asked the creature, scratching behind one of her large, bat-like, but still furry ears. The noise the chimera made in response sounded like a pleased chirp, clearly affirmation. Sasha smiled, albeit a little crookedly. Okay, Wally it is. He slipped up behind Nathan and whispered, Guess that means you finally gave me an answer. Nathan blinked a few moments before realization dawned on him. Flash or Green Lantern? Back when Nathan was still wary of Sasha's advances, the Incubus had asked him who of the two he thought would be better in bed. Just part of a silly game, but Nathan had recognized the flirt for what it was, and had been too flustered to give an answer. He thought for a moment if he had one now, but decided he'd have to bring it up another time, when they were alone. Once Wally's name had been settled on, it wasn't long before Alex was reeling everyone back in from the excitement, and explaining sternly that they had wasted enough time, and there were chores in need of being done. Nathan was declared fit enough to at least paint one of the last remaining smaller rooms, and Alex would be clearing out the back storage room, while Jim and Sasha started hauling in leftover wood for the minor construction upstairs. Alex had requested they put up some shelving in a few of the less finished-looking rooms, and asked if they would also sand an old table or two in need of restaining. It didn't go unnoticed that Alex took Wally with her, presumably to keep the Chimera from distracting everyone else, but Nathan had his suspicions. Since the room Nathan had been asked to paint was fairly tiny, he had it finished in just over an hour, and decided to take a short nap in the lounge he had rested in the previous day. He was so comfortable when he woke up that he didn't want to move. His last dose of meds had kicked in before he fell asleep, which left him feeling like he had just eaten turkey on Thanksgiving. Contentedly kicked back on the sofa, Nathan blinked up at the ceiling for a while as he came to. The first thing he thought of when he felt a gentle touch on his arm was Sasha. Or maybe that was just wishful thinking. Nathan glanced down his body and saw two large gray eyes peering up at him. He shifted a little as Wally climbed up onto his stomach and reached out to pet her furry head. "Hey, Fuzzball. Come to wake me up or just looking for a human pillow?" A chirp responded, and Wally started kneading Nathan's stomach like a cat. "Guess that answers that," Nathan smiled. "Well, I can tell you, Wally, I am definitely more comfortable than the attic floor." Wally paused for a moment in her kneading and reached one of her tiny hands for the silver chain around Nathan's neck. Nathan pulled his father's ring out from under his shirt so she could see it. Her gray eyes widened with interest. "That's right. You had all those shiny necklaces and things stashed up in the attic, didn't you? Well, you play nice, and I'm sure Alex might let you keep a thing or two. But this," he tapped the ring, "is special. No more stealing, especially from one of us, and especially this. Got it?" Wally chirped again and pushed her head into Nathan's hand for another pat. "Good. But I can't help noticing how you keep flirting with my Incubus. For the record, I saw him first, okay? You better not be looking for anything more than friendship." Nathan had to smirk to himself at how Wally blinked innocence, and then resumed her presses into his stomach, purring gently. "Getting on my good side, huh?" Nathan chuckled. "Just like a woman to play a coy like that." "Is that right?" Nathan looked up to find Alex peering at him over the back of the couch. "Are you going to be a lazy lump all day or what? It's almost 6, she said. "PM?" Nathan balked. He had been asleep for hours. He tried to sit up, but he had still been unconsciously petting Wally, and she was now curled up on his stomach in a perfectly round ball of fluff. "What are the others up to?" he decided on saying, remaining on his back for at least a while longer. "Dinner's ready, which was why I came looking, but actually, I haven't seen either of your boys since they finished those shelves. Must still be upstairs." Nathan considered Alex's wording and shook his head with a grimace. "Don't call them my boys. Sounds wrong somehow." A smirk graced Alex's face. "Well, what should I call them? Your brother and your sex toy?" Nathan paused to think about that. "Better," he said with a nod. Alex laughed and reached over the couch to mess Nathan's hair. "And you're still a perv. It's almost comforting." "Says the lady with the camera phone," Nathan grumbled. "Aren't you due for more meds?" Alex asked, effectively ignoring Nathan's comment, as she plucked Wally from his stomach, who, much like a cat, remained scrunched up and curled into a ball, since she had been so happily sleeping before being disturbed. Nathan mourned the loss of the Chimera's warm little body, but he considered it a good thing that Alex had stolen her. Otherwise, he might have fallen back asleep with how Wally's purring sent soothing vibrations all throughout his body. "So you think Penn and Teller are upstairs, you said?" Alex chuckled. "Yeah, and which one would be which exactly?" "I know which one I'd like to be Teller," Nathan grinned. "Oh, to have Jim silent for a day." Nathan sat up finally and swung his feet around to stand up. He was still a little groggy from the long nap, which was probably why it took him several minutes to climb the stairs, let alone to reach his and Sasha's room. There was no sign of Sasha, though, in the bathroom or otherwise. Maybe they were in Jim's room. Walking across the hallway to Jim's door, Nathan was about to raise a hand and knock, when he picked up on faint voices coming from down the hall. They must be in the library. The voices grew louder as Nathan neared the room, but he could tell that Jim and Sasha were trying to keep their voices hushed. This made Nathan slow his pace, turning stealthy to better overhear them as he pressed back against the wall near the entrance. Nathan didn't like this. Even before he could make out Jim's words, he could tell his brother sounded off. "We're running out of time," Jim said brokenly, like maybe he was crying, or at least close to it. "We can't keep acting like everything's okay. Soon, it won't be. Soon, no amount of faking ease and laughs will mean Nathan's still here. He won't be here. He'll be gone. A shadow immortal or worse. And it's all because of me." Nathan's breath caught in his throat as he heard Jim bite out the last of that. "He did it for me," Jim went on, and there was no mistaking the sound of tears now. "And I bet he'd do it again," came Sasha's voice, just as soft and mournful as Jim's, but stronger, steady, and solid, the way Nathan loved about the Incubus. "Damn right Nathan would do it again." "Jim, you can't blame yourself for Nathan loving you enough to do what he did. He shouldn't have saved me. I was supposed to be taken, not him." Jim's voice was a low growl, angry despite his tears. He had no right." "And what about you?" Sasha asked. "Forcing Nathan's hand to kill you like that in the warehouse with Gabriel? You had no right, but you did it anyway. Why?" "Because you were scared, Jim. Because you wanted to protect him, just like Nathan did with you." "It's not the same," Jim said. "I'm a liability. It's not the same with you either, so don't try and lump us together like you understand." He growled before Sasha could contradict him. He sounded so vicious as he said those words that Nathan almost bolted around the corner out of principle to knock his brother down a few pegs. "You know what you are," Jim said, softer again. "You understand the things you can do, the things you need to do, and you keep yourself controlled. I don't even know from one second to the next if I'm still going to be me or something terrible." Jim was crying outright. Jim was sobbing. So when the sound suddenly became muffled, Nathan knew Sasha must have pulled Jim in against him. Nathan felt unhinged, standing there outside the room, listening to Jim crying in Sasha's arms like a kid. Jim had always been the strong one. Jim didn't think he was, but he was. He had to be. "I don't have much time either," Jim choked out. "I remember, Sasha, I remember pieces from the veil." A sharp twinge of cold rushed through Nathan's body. "I remember the time. Months, I think. Not the 2 weeks it was for Nathan. And these voices telling me things I do. I don't remember what, but I know it wasn't anything good. And these eyes. Red eyes. No, not just red, like yours." Nathan swallowed. "Red on black." The hallway felt smaller, constricted, and Nathan almost revealed himself if only to escape the confinement and the dull ache of fear beginning to throb inside his gut. Silence reigned for a few minutes, other than Jim's soft sobs, with Sasha not saying a word, just being there and listening for when Jim spoke again. "I keep thinking," Jim finally said, so softly that his voice hitched on every other word, still muffled as if his face was pressed into Sasha's shoulder. "If I can just save him, then at least I'll have made it right again, and there'll still be someone to stop me when I change. But if we fail and they take him, if he's not here to stop me, Sasha, if he can't, someone has to." "Jim," Sasha sighed, knowing where Jim meant to take the conversation now, this tearful confession, and Nathan knew too, hated Jim for it, for putting the burden on someone else. "You want to save Nathan, so we can all stay together, not to ensure an executioner. You're just scared." I do want us together," Jim admitted miserably. "But I know, one way or another, we can't have that. I'll either fail to save Nathan, or turn into some kind of monster, and if it's both, Sasha, please." Nathan sensed Sasha's growl even before it came out, more threatening than he had ever heard it, and certainly not the warming purr he loved. "Damn you for even asking," came Sasha's gruffer, Incubus voice, so that Nathan had to wonder if Sasha was showing fangs. "You've already given up. By even saying those words, you're condemning yourself and Nathan, like he's already dead and you're just going to sit here and let the dark she have him." Jim made no sound to defend himself, so Sasha growled again. "They can't have him. And you're not one of them," Sasha said firmly. "Say all you want that we're not alike, Jim, but we are. I didn't ask to be what I am, and I don't always keep the control I should, not even close. Sometimes I wish I was human so badly." Sasha trailed, and for the first time, Nathan heard Sasha's voice hitch a little too. Nathan never would have thought the Incubus felt that way. Sasha always seemed so comfortable in his skin, just a little lonely, before Nathan came along. "But I know that just because I'm not human doesn't mean I'm a monster. Because I don't want to be one. And that has to be enough. 'Cause if it's not enough for you, then it's not enough for me either. And Nathan needs us both right now. We'll save him. We will," Sasha said with what Nathan believed was every bit of conviction the Incubus had in him, despite how close to tears he sounded now too. "I can't lose you guys. I need both of you. You can't give me a family again just to take it away, Jim. I won't let you. We've already lost our families once, so don't you dare ask me to do what you know Nathan can either, because I won't. And I won't need to. We can do this." Another sob choked out of Jim, and Nathan heard a whole new wave of tears start for his brother. He thought Sasha must be crying with him, only silently, being the strong one for Jim, because Jim couldn't always be the strong one by himself. It wasn't that Nathan couldn't do that for Jim, he just did it differently. Nathan would have told Jim to suck it up, maybe change the subject, maybe made a stupid joke, but sometimes that wasn't enough. Jim needed to feel what he was feeling, but he needed to be comforted that everything would be all right, too. Nathan just wasn't good at that kind of thing. He couldn't have been more grateful that Sasha was. When it finally sounded like the waterworks were slowing, and the two of them were just in there, quiet as anything, Nathan backed up a ways down the hallway and called out. "Hey, where you guys at?" he said, as if he had only just made it upstairs to search them out. "Jim! Sasha!" Nathan made his way slowly back to the library, giving them time to disentangle and dry their eyes, even though he knew he would be able to see the redness like a painful reminder. "In here!" Sasha called back, just about the time Nathan was upon the library again, anyway. "Geez, been looking everywhere for you guys," Nathan said as he entered, finding them just as he imagined, sitting there next to each other on the ratty old sofa, Jim's eyes all red-rimmed, while Sasha's managed to look almost pristine. "Not fooling around behind my back, are you?" Nathan smirked. "'Cause you know I'd have to kill you both, right?" That was what Nathan did, because that was what he could do, and he felt the greatest relief when both of them broke into smiles. He knew it would be too obvious if he feigned complete ignorance, though. "I miss anything?" he asked, looking hard into Jim's eyes, that already looked a lot better, but were still wet and puffy. If Jim wanted to tell him anything, he would, and if not, then Nathan would understand. As he expected, Jim just smiled a little wider and shook his head. "Nothing important." Nathan nodded. "Alex sent me up to get you guys for dinner. Figured we better get down there and offer some help. Wouldn't want to look like loafers now, would we?" Again, the pair looked at Nathan with such mutual relief that he knew he had walked in at the perfect time. They were successfully purged for at least a little while. He couldn't help it if he'd rather goof around and get them laughing about something, instead of talking out his feelings on the matter. Any thoughts he had on his bounty, or Jim and his awakening, were equally unpleasant, and Nathan just didn't want to deal with any of it. Not on their much-needed vacation. "Come on, boy wonders, let's eat," Nathan said, heading back toward the door with a quick look back to make sure he was being followed. "Can I at least be Nightwing?" Sasha said, making a face. Nathan grinned. I might be persuaded. Why do you always get to be Batman? Jim asked, with something like a pout. Nathan grinned a little crookedly. Because I'm awesome, he said matter-of-factly. Whatever, I'm older. Nathan just laughed as they made their way down the hallway. His teasing earned him a hard smack in the arm, but there was a smile at the corner of Jim's mouth despite his best efforts to hide it, and Sasha belted a laugh too, making Nathan feel overall accomplished. After all, someone had to keep these sentimental guys in one piece.
You're listening to Big World Network.